what I would say is that we've been lucky enough to show this film across the world, but after having a tour around the museum today, I can honestly say that this is one of the most important screenings we will ever do. We're honoured to be here, and thank you very much to each and every one of you who have taken the time to come down and watch the film. This is Shok. I hope you enjoy.
Gentlemen, thank you all for being here this evening to talk about this extraordinary piece, and as you mentioned, you can understand why it's so important to us here at the Museum of Tolerance, dealing with a chapter of shameful human history with which we still grapple in this museum on a daily basis. Jamie, I have to ask you, what is your connection to Kosovo, and how did you come to conceive and implement this extraordinary project?
It's a very strange connection to Kosovo, and you have to believe in fate after this. In 2010 I visited the country for 3 days. I knew very little about the country. I knew there was a war and that was about it. On the second day the Icelandic volcano erupted. 5 weeks later I was still in the country. But in that time I met some of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. The hospitality of the Kosovan people was incredible, and they brought me into their families and began to tell me their stories, and I just could not believe what had happened at that time, less than 15 years ago, on our doorstep in Europe. But one of the things that really got me was the positivity of the people there. It wasn't anger or a blame game, they just wanted their stories to be heard. And as a filmmaker, I thought I have the ability, hopefully the duty as well, to go and tell these stories. And then obviously our relationship with Eshref as well, we were around the same age, and he began to tell me what had happened in his life. And from that and the other stories I'd heard from people, I decided to make this film. However, it was very key to me that I just didn't come over and make this film. I needed to make it for the Kosovan people, but also for a worldwide audience. And to do that, I fully had to understand the culture in the country. So I spent the next 4 years researching in Kosovo before I was ready to write this.
Harvey, it looks like the entire film was filmed in Kosovo. What was the involvement of the local population? What did it mean to them?
Well, we filmed in a town called Telipar, which is actually near the Serbian border, where a lot of the atrocities happened back in the late 90s. We had such an amazing response from the people around there. We'd film a scene and we'd have hundreds of people watching this film. It was such an incredible experience for them to be involved in something that happened to them in the 90s.
I take it all of the extras and most of the other actors are all from that area?
Yeah, everyone was from Kosovo, yes.
Eshref, you are from Kosovo. Leaves us wondering how much of the story is actually your story?
One of the stories that you already said, see in the movie, it's based on my life, so that's what happened to me, especially the story that we see in the bus scene. So that was happened to me when I was 14. I was going to school because at that time the Serbian repression government they closed all the public schools, all the universities, all the televisions and newspapers. So to go to school, it was just you shouldn't go to Serbian language. So we were not allowed to go to school in our mother tongue. But there were a lot of generous people that they turned their houses like secret schools. So we did continue to go to schools. And one day I was going to school and the police stopped us in a checkpoint. They were asking for the ID cards. When he comes to me, he was asking me Serbian for the ID card, but at that time I was 14, I didn't speak Serbian, so I said to him, sorry, I don't speak Serbian. He turned to me in fluent Albanian and he asked me for ID card, and I said I don't have one. He asked me where I'm going, I said I'm going to school, and then he slapped me because I was going to school, and he said, you go into school, you don't speak Serbian. So next time when I see you, you should speak and even sing Serbian. So that was the story that Jamie picked it up and put it on the film.
How difficult was it for you to play a Serbian occupier in the film?
Yeah, to play the opposite of what was happening in my life. In the beginning, Jamie, when Jamie was developing the script, and we were talking a lot and about the stories and everything, and then he said, I have a role for you, I will offer you a role to play in this movie. I said, I don't think that is a role for me because the main characters are two small, two young boys, and it's grandfather, grandmother, mom, and the sisters, so there were no Albanian roles there left. Then he decides, I will give you the role of Dragon. In the beginning it was a bit shock for me because I didn't know how to react, but then I was just thinking the whole of my life and the whole the thing that I was going through. So I had my flashbacks, and I said, okay, I can play because I want to do that, and I know that how powerful was the police officer at that time against 14 years old, unprotected and without a power. So I say many times I will never forget the war, and I don't want to forget the war. I will think always the war because that makes me stronger to go forward, to have a better future for me and for all the people that I know. So I always will, when I'm in difficulties, sometimes doing something, I just think of the bad time that I had in my life, and that makes me strong to go forward.
You mentioned that you've shown this film all over the world. What's the reaction then?
The reaction's always really difficult because after the end scene, everybody's in silence and you're never quite sure how people feel about it. But we were lucky enough to premiere at Aspen, which was one of the main film festivals which actually qualified us for the Academy Awards. And the response we got from that was absolutely incredible. And we ended up winning all 3 categories in there. And then from there we went on to Holly Shorts, which was over here. We had a fantastic response there, and then moved from DC and then into Europe. But out of all the festivals, my most nerve-wracking one was screening in Kosovo for the first time. We screened at a festival called DocuFest. And as I say, after that it was complete silence. Nobody clapped, nobody did anything, nobody said a word, and I was like, what have I done here? Have I done the right thing? And then slowly, after about half an hour or even an hour, people began coming up to us and saying how much the film had affected them. And what we found out was that because we luckily made it so realistic as well, we dragged up a lot of these memories of people and they just needed time to digest. But the general response we got was that however hard it was for people to watch the film, they were thankful that we tackled the subject.
As you said, people just want their stories to be heard and understood and known and acknowledged, not denied. What is Kosovo like today? How much of the divide has been healed? And is it still a predominantly ethnic Albanian country or more diverse than before?
Things are moving very fast forward. So one good thing is, which is in Kosovo, is because we are the youngest Europeans. They call us like this because the percentage of population are very young, between 23 and 35. So, like around 80% of the population are very young, and the young people, they just like I said before, they think in the war, but they just want to move forward. So this is the thing that's happened in Kosovo. It's building very fast, so you don't have a lot of places where you can see that the war was there. And except the city where we were shooting, which is Mitrovica, where my hometown is as well, which is divided into sides. It's a river that divides the city. In the north of the city are the Serbs, and in the south are Albanians. So, like, let's say it's a bit of Berlin still there. It's like Berlin. But in the other side, like I say, the people they just want to move forward, and it's a lot of diversity going on in Kosovo.
Harvey, what do you think drawing attention for the film industry could mean for this new country?
Well, I think one of the great things that Kosovo has for itself is the culture. There's so many amazing artists out there. Some of the best theatre I've ever seen is in Kosovo. The filmmaking scene is vibrant and moving forward very fast. And I think Shok being nominated for an Oscar is a great move forward for the country, and it's given people hope and greatness to move forward.
I'm sure that you also have questions for our special guests. Please raise your hand. We'll be happy to bring you a microphone so we all get to hear the question and also the answer. Okay. We've got several microphones going to you first, and it'll come down to the front row afterwards.
Good evening. I'm a little bit emotional. I'm Serbian. And Serbia wasn't occupied the Kosovo. Kosovo is heart of Serbia. If you know, you're now just not going and tell truth. I want to ask you, you speak Serbian, I speak Serbian.
Please speak into the mic.
Serbian too, like gentlemen over there. Zašto vi niste uzeli story? Why you not take a story of two young boys who is swimming in the river, who is killed by Albanian people? You just take a one-day story to put the Serbia in genocide. That's not true. Why you not take a story about too many destroyed monastery and church in the Kosovo? One day Kosovo is become back to be Serbia, because Serbia is heart of Kosovo. If people reading history or looking story who is coming up after war, he can see there's too many story different side, and everybody talking about one side. And history is different, and truth is coming out very well.
You are correct that this is an extremely complicated history. It is one of the most difficult episodes. Let's ask our guests to answer your question. Thank you. Okay, we were asked why you chose this particular story. There are others of pain and suffering on the other side as well.
Okay, there are two sides to every war.
I just want to say one thing.
We asked a question. Let's ask our guests to answer it. Thank you for the question.
There are two sides to every war. Atrocities happen on both sides. There is no clear right and wrong in any war, and this is, as you say, a very, very complicated situation. I have chosen to show one side, and these stories that happen in Kosovo, of the stories that I have experienced. I'm in no way saying this is clear-cut and good and bad. What I am trying to highlight is about the victims of war, whichever side they come from, and in particular children as well. If there is any political message to take from this, it is that how did we allow this to happen and get so far down the line before anybody intervened and put a stop to this. So I respect Serbia very, very much, and I respect your opinion very, very much.
I'd like to thank you very much for a beautiful, moving film. I'm curious where and how you found the two young boys who were absolutely fantastic, and why a short film and not a long film?
The boys, we don't have any acting school for children there in Kosovo. So what we did, we put it in Facebook that we are looking for two boys that are 12 years old to play these roles, and there were many people applying. They sent their footage, like they had shots, and from them there was, I don't know, there was close to 2,000 of them. So we chose from them 50 of them, and we brought them to the casting. And Andi Bagora, who's playing Oki, he did before like a few short movies. But Lucas is, who plays Petro, is the first ever movie that he played. So, and yeah, we brought both of them in casting, and when Lum was coming in, it was just like, it was him. It was so good on the auditions, and then we decided to cast both of them.
Why a short film, not a long film?
Jamie, believe me, it felt like a long film. A very, very, very long film. Making This actually ties into a lot of questions we get asked with the Oscars and about diversity with the Oscars as well, and why there is such a lack of diversity. I think one of the advantages about short films is that literally anyone can make a short film. You don't have pressures of huge budgets and a lot of different people getting involved and studios and different things like that. So a short film is very, very possible, and because of that, you can tackle these subjects. I would say relatively easily, but this was a very long process to make. So this is a short film, and it's the first step towards features in the whole of the Balkan area as well.
But the point was made in the short film.
You made the point very well in the short film. Thank you. You have the microphone, please go ahead.
Thank you. Since I speak neither Albanian nor Serbian, I didn't understand the nuances of the movie. But it seemed to me that the boy who was delivering messages to the Serb armed forces was in fact a traitor, and that his friend, when he lost his bicycle, that was the insult that he hurled at him. To what extent was such collaboration of the Albanians or the Kosovars with the Serbs, at what extent did that affect, muddy the waters in Kosovo?
First of all, he was not delivering messages. It was like paper for cigarettes. He was selling papers for cigarettes to them. So, but Oki doesn't agree that because after he losing his part, and he knew it, he was warning him before that it's danger to go in these places, and that's why he called him a traitor. He's not a businessman. He's not nothing. He's just a traitor for him.
We have lots of hands up. Let's give the microphone around.
Hi. Second time seeing the film, and it was just as powerful this time around. I was wondering about that incident at the end where the boy got shot because he turned around. This happened? You witnessed this happening?
No, that part of the film, the middle part is Eshref's story. The other part is a friend of mine called Portraying, that was based on his life when his friend had come home from school, and he asked him to stay over, and the Archons raided their house the next morning, and he looked back and was killed.
Wow. And why did they shoot people who turned around and looked? Why? What?
It was a very dirty war, so it's just like there were a lot of people shot only, but they were Albanian. So it was, and that's what we have seen in the movie. Actually, to say the truth, this is nothing about what's happened there. That is really so little what was happening in Kosovo at that time during the war. There have been a lot of massacres, and a lot of there were more than 1 million people get out from their home and brought across to the border. I don't know why.
So it was just sort of arbitrary or random?
Yeah, there were a lot of paramilitary groups as well. They have done this across the Yugoslavia.
You have the mic. Go ahead, sir.
Do you speak Albanian, and is there much English spoken in Kosovo? How did you make a film if there was a language barrier?
Yes, but please don't ask him to speak Albanian. Ask him to speak Albanian. Shoot back ship. There is the younger generation. A lot of them do speak English. It was very key for me to keep this in the Albanian language. One of the key things that was used, as Eshref says, was removing the language from the Kosovan people, and that was a very clever way of depowering them as well. So for me to shoot this in English wasn't the right way to go about it. Directing in a foreign language, if that's around the question that you're getting to, I think I knew the script inside out, obviously, and I knew how it should sound, but for me, I think you can tell a performance no matter what languages somebody is speaking, because you can feel a performance. But I had translators with me that were helping me with the nuances of the language, So for instance, we would have a take and I would turn to Eshref and I would say, I felt that take, that felt good, and he might say to me, oh, well, there was a slight slip on a word or slight mispronunciation, and we would go like that. So that's how we made the film.
Jamie, I wanted to say thank you so much for telling the story, all three of you. I am Albanian as well, and I'm from Kosovo. So this definitely resonated with me. I do agree with Eshref that it's just the tip of the iceberg. I was wondering, I also went and saw Serbia's foreign film nominee, actually was not nominated. It was just running for Enclave, which I guess I could disagree with the lady down there about the truth of that story, but that's not why we're here. I wanted to ask you, why do you think that this made it so far? It's a beautiful story, and I'm sure that you know, it ran against so many other films, but why do you think that it resonated with so many people?
It's a difficult question, but I think maybe because hopefully the way that I introduce people to war, everybody knows war stories and everybody watches war stories, but to really engage somebody and relate somebody into a war story is very difficult. So from the outset, my idea was to do this from the eyes of children, because for me, everybody at one time was 12 years old and everybody had a best friend. And if you can relate this to something so small as just two children growing up and make the war not in the foreground but just the background, it's a way that anybody across the world, whatever language they speak, can relate to that. And as I said, as you said in my quote there, that hopefully that they realise their lives are so similar but yet so different at the same time. So maybe that is why it resonated so well. But as I say, when I made this, I had no idea what the response was, so I'm extremely humbled. It's got us as far as to the Oscars.
I think, just to add something to Jamie, in the beginning we had a really good script, which Jamie wrote with. That was the base of the whole this film. And after that we were trying to raise money, we were trying to make teams together to do this film. And when we were sending the script to the actors and to the people who were involved in the film, so everybody loved the script. And one of the special thing that I think it's on this film is everybody who has worked in this film has much, except the professional work that they have given to them. They have given so much love to this film. And I think one of the keys is as well that they did everything with a lot of love and a lot of passion, and that's why it's going so far.
Hello? Go ahead. At the back. You have the mic, sir?
No, I do.
Somebody else does, yeah.
I have the mic. Hello? I have the mic.
All right.
Okay.
Ladies first, and then we'll go to you. Thank you.
I'm going to the Belgrade Film Festival, February 26th to March 7th. I'm bringing John McTiernan, the director, there. But when I spoke to the principals at the Belgrade Film Festival, they never heard of this film, or at least they stated they never heard of it.
I think they haven't heard a lot about this film because there was a lot of newspaper writing about this film, so I don't know. Only if they don't read newspapers in Belgrade.
That.
What is the meaning of the word shock?
Shok in Albanian means friend.
Maybe we asked them in translation or didn't pronounce it properly. Thank you.
I heard a lot, or I saw a lot of, or was reminded a lot of the post-war Italy films, like Rome, Open City, or even like The Bicycle Thief. I was just wondering if there was any inspiration taken from that era of filmmaking.
I've read that actually a few times. I think if there was any inspiration I would take, it would maybe be from Life is Beautiful, which won the foreign film in '99, I believe, as well. The way that dealt with the war back then was quite refreshing, and the way it brought you into it in a roundabout way that wasn't expected as well, and the way it made you laugh at such a horrendous situation as well was very inspiring as well. And I think if, if anything, the end of that film and the death scene in that film, which was so underplayed, was an inspiration for me about how I underplayed the scene in the end of Shok.
Someone has the mic. Go ahead and then we'll pass it to you, sir, afterwards.
I thought the film was fabulous, and there's a lot of political differences in this room, but I think we are all exhausted by the inhumanity that we're seeing around the world, and it doesn't seem to stop. I personally put a great deal of hope in what we in the United States call the millennials, 18 to 34. I'm wondering, in terms of Kosovo and Albania and Serbia, are the younger people changing? Are their attitudes changing? Are they acknowledging the evil of all of these wars on both sides? Or are you not seeing that?
I can speak more for Kosovo because I'm from there. Like I say, the young people, they just want to go forward. They're going to move forward. I have worked with the Serbian people, even Kosovo. We have shoot last year another feature movie. The whole crew, a flighting crew that was from Serbia. So, and in Kosovo, you can really, it's a lot of people that can come. They come from Serbia with Serbian plates, with Serbian cars, and nobody stops them. Nobody does nothing because, like I said, they just want to go forward. They're going to move. They do not want to stay on the past. And I hope there are a lot of people in Serbia, young people in Serbia, a lot of artists that just really want to go forward. And but there are still a lot of politicians, and there's still some radical parties that they are just like staying there. They just want to stay there. They keep saying that Kosovo is the heart of Serbia, which is not, and will never be because it was never. And but these are just like this extreme party. A lot of young people, they just don't care. They just don't want. They want to work together. They want to go forward and to go to Europe and to open to the world. I hope that's going to continue. And I think we as young people, we need to do this and collaborate together. We say always that the arts doesn't know borders, but sometimes the politicians, they make borders for us, so we need to break these borders.
My question is to Jamie. I enjoyed the movie, glad you made it. But you said a few times already about how it was a long movie to do. How long and what made it so long?
The research made it long. It was 4 years of researching, so from that point of view, as I said originally, that I did not want to be seen as an international just coming over and telling another culture's stories. I had to really understand. And there are, it won't mean a lot to the people here, but for the Albanian people here as well, there's a lot of hidden things within the film which give it depth. For example, the music that we use and some of the stuff drawn on the wall as well. So when the people of Kosovo watched that, they would know that I did know what I was talking about, and I did do them the right honour and justice in making this film. The other side of it is, of course, the producing side, the raising the money, which is Harvey can probably talk to you for maybe the same amount of time, 4 years, about how difficult it was to do this.
Yeah, we started raising money at the start. We got turned away from a lot of funding organisations, but we got support from the Kosovan Film Centre, who gave a part of the funding to make the film, and then the rest was from Ryan Jones' credit cards, which you shouldn't do. But yeah, we felt so strongly and passionately about this. We all did, and we just wanted to make it good, and we just put everything we had, including selling our cars and everything. But no, it's right. Yeah.
Talking about familiarising yourself with the culture, I'm sure that we missed much of that, not being familiar enough. But I was struck by, there's not much music, but what is there, it really touches a deep, deep nerve, and it sounded to me like an older woman singing. And I wonder, what is that song, and was it deliberately chosen for the use in the film?
with the soundtrack, I didn't want to fill it full of emotive music. I wanted the pictures to do that, and we thought long and hard about what songs to take. That is a very old Albanian song that I believe that the mothers used to sing to the children during the war, and it's about growing up to become a man. Is that correct? It's about growing up to become a man, and we searched out a very famous old Kosovan singer who hadn't sung since the war and had refused to sing since the war that song. And we travelled up into the mountains, into a village, and we asked her one more time, would she sing the song as the soundtrack for this film? And that soundtrack's actually recorded on an iPhone in a village in Kosovo.
We have time for one more question. Who has the mic?
Hi, I really enjoyed the film. I just had a question from a creative standpoint. The young boy who passes at the end of Oki's loneliness, and he shows a loner throughout the film, other than his one friend. Is there any intention there, like he didn't show his family or anything else connected to him?
Somebody else actually asked me that the other day about not showing his family. There was a whole backstory to Oki as well that I thought about, putting in and explaining more of Oki's family, that his father left to go to work and he was brought up just by his grandmother. But this is one of the things about short films as well. You really have to pick and choose what you explore. You've got a very short time to get that across, and every shot matters. So if this was a feature, or if I had more time, I would have very much liked to have gone into Oki's family, but I had to really concentrate on what the key message was in 21 minutes. So you have to make sacrifices along the way, and that was one of it. I wanted to concentrate more on Patrick's family.
To close, I'd like to ask each of you, what's been the most meaningful part of this journey in making the film? And what is your greatest wish for what should happen next with this film?
The meaning is always, like I say, there are so many stories around the world to be told, and we need to tell all the stories. We shouldn't hide them. We need to let the world know what was happened to our life, to our people, to our countries, to our nations, to everything. So, and I hope this film is not going to stop going around the world, and a lot of people are going to see it. And if they see it, it can change something, because it's continuing going every day. I'm so happy, and I really thank you all of them for being here. So today I just had a tour in this museum, and it felt like the same was there. I lived through it almost. So so that keep going again today in other countries, and if the people can see this film and can change something, which is good. And yeah, I'm very, very thankful for you coming here, see this film, and I'm feeling very good, very touched, and very proud that Kosovo and Albania, it was a country that during the Second War was saving a lot of Jewish people.
Eshref, of course, is referring to the profound philosophy of Besa, which requires, mandates that you never turn away a person in need. And Albania was the only country during the Second World War that had more Jews in it at the end of the war than it did at the beginning. And it was literally the kindness of ordinary people, in no positions of power, or just making sure that they don't turn someone away from their homes in a time of need. We've had many exhibitions and films here on that episode. Thank you for mentioning it.
Thank you very much.
Harvey, your turn.
Well, this whole process has definitely opened my eyes. It's opened my eyes to kind of a new culture. This 4-year-long journey that both myself and Jamie have gone on is to learn about a new culture and learn different things about how people kind of like understand. I mean, myself and Jamie, I'm sure, just take things for granted. Saying like back in Kosovo when they were younger, we had more than what they had, and it's such an amazing opportunity to work with yourselves, and it's also amazing to have screening here. It's all very relevant.
It's very hard to put a significant moment on it all, from the first screening to the screening in Kosovo, but I think the gravity of everything hit me when we got nominated for the Oscar, and seeing the reaction of the people in Kosovo for their first nomination and what it meant. At that point, it became more than a film. Everything became bigger than the film, and it's amazing, and I'm very humbled to be part of that and part of the history of Kosovo as well. What I was hoping to achieve from it, I always said when I made this, if just one person had watched this film and then look into the history of what happened over there, it would be a success. Since then, obviously, a lot of people are beginning to look at the history, but also I don't just want people to look back as well. The saddest thing is that history is just repeating itself over and over and over again, and what we have with the Syrian refugees as well, it seems that like lessons are never learned. If anyone can take anything from this film and take it forward to try and stop these atrocities happening at an early stage, then I would be, it would be very, very grateful if it could have that effect on people. Thank you.
And as we said, we mean all people. There are always many, many people affected in war. History has shown us that the courage and morality of the society is constantly on trial, and sometimes it's tested to the extreme. This is what happens when we choose to forget our shared humanity, and it is something that each and every one of us needs to guard against. I hope you'll continue to make stories that will enlighten us and that will cause us to turn inward, to be reflective, and think about who we are, what is our role in the world, and how do we relate to other people. Congratulations on a powerful film. Good luck with the Oscars, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me very much.